Just this last Sunday at River Cross Church, our Pastor Carl's theme, the overall theme for a while is called Far Out. And he's sharing different spots of the book of Exodus. And they really have been far out. Very good. Now, last Sunday, we were looking at Exodus chapter 12, and actually the message title was called Reshape. Isn't that interesting? Far out, we need to reshape. And at the end of his passage, in the end of this, and you can go to Facebook, River Cross Church Facebook, and catch his sermon. He's a very good preacher. He's not a long preacher, uh, maybe 15, 20 minutes. I don't know. Very good though. But he came up with four conclusions or whatever, and one is overall thoughts. The first one is we need to prepare in advance. Location he had. Uh, Everyone gets invited. Uh, and now he was referring to the goat and lamb's blood. You can read about that too. Um, only rely only on God can we live forever. Oh, and that kind of gets into the Jesus's blood being shed for us, and depend on God to provide. That was the last one, and then we think of the bread of life. Those were great themes. And I'm also seeing how this ties in. Now, this is my thought. So, Pastor Carl, if I'm blowing it, you can do a rebuttal. I'll interview you. But I'm thinking about reshaping our lives, and I think reshaping for me is always growing. We need to prepare in advance when God wants us to move. Now, it's interesting um, when you look at the people of Israel and you read Exodus. Um, at the beginning of Exodus, this is when Moses leads them out of Egypt, leads them to the promised land. And you'd have to say, well, how did they get there in the first place? Then you have to read the last part of Genesis. You had to read how Joseph comes into all of this and how when they came over to Egypt, it was pretty cool to begin with. But over the years, it wasn't cool for the Israelites, God's chosen people. They became slaves. And Moses takes them out of slavery. Well, there's a lot more. God does, by the way. And they have to be, and by the way, before they're going even into Egypt in Genesis, they lived in tents. Uh, Maybe some of them had a house, but they lived in tents, we read about. When they got to Egypt, and over years, and even though they became slaves, they built homes. And now, if your boss were to call you right away and say, you're going to have to move right within an hour, would you do it? I might go, oh, no, we can't do it that quick. We got this house, we're going to have to sell it. And we got 6 cats. So we can't just, ah. Would you be able to move just like that? I think as Christians, we need to keep growing and we're being reshaped and we're ready to move. Now, I don't talk about physically move. And I don't talk about us moving away from Jesus, but we grow and we need to be reshaped. And that's kind of what I'm getting with the message today. Today, we need to keep growing in the Lord so the Lord can keep reshaping us to share his glory. All right. Geesh, I did that under 5 minutes. Pastor Carl's sermon is really awesome. Go to River Cross Church Visalia Facebook and you can hear it. All right. Let's keep letting God reshape us.